Okay, hello everyone. My name is Carrie Waite. I'm the Colorado coordinator for United Policyholders, and we are going along with Jefferson County and the Denver Urban Area Security Initiative to present this to you today. The webinar will be presented in English with simultaneous Spanish interpretation. Please click the globe on your Zoom bar so that you can select your preferred language, English or Spanish, for your interpretation. Okay, we'll give everyone just another minute here to select and get started. Wonderful. Hi to Paulina, and thank you for hosting us and allowing us to bring this, allowing us to bring this to you guys today. Again, make sure everyone hops on pressing the globe here, the interpretation globe, and select Spanish or English, so we can make sure that you can get our interpretation. I'd like to thank Judy and Annabella also, who are our interpreters. Here's what it should look like when you select your language, either English or Spanish. Okay, and now we'll get going. Once again, my name is Carrie Waite. I'm the Colorado coordinator. And I started working for United Policyholders almost 8 years ago, following a big wildfire that hit my neighborhood. I now kind of call it my fire. They were a great help to all of us as we were trying to use our insurance that we had paid many years for to help us rebuild or fix our homes and replace our belongings. And now I get to pay it forward by sharing good information with people like you so that you can have good insurance to help you should you be hit by a disaster or have something happen that you were not prepared normally for without insurance. United Policyholders is a voice and a resource for consumers in all 50 states over 30 years now. We talk about and teach about buying insurance like we're doing today, about insurance claims, which is how I first got involved, and we will be helping the people who have recently lost property due to the wildfires in Colorado. And then in legal matters, we're supported by donors, grants, and volunteers. So we really want you all to know that we do not accept money from insurance companies or from contractors that fix houses or anyone like that. Mostly we get government grants like we did for this particular event we're teaching today, or we have volunteers who want to pay it forward, which I have done in the past, or donors, people and businesses and that want to help us bring this to you because it helps the community be better prepared. We also speak up in the courts and in legislatures and public forums to try to help consumers, people that buy insurance and need their insurance. So the next slide you'll see is an example of that. This was in 2013, and this is a picture of me and our executive director and a bunch of our volunteers and your legislators all there for the signing from Governor Hickenlooper at the time of new law to help consumers. So this is the type of thing we do, and we are bringing good information to you now. I hope it will benefit you. I've already talked about our 3 programs that we do, and that we're funded for this today. This is paid for by a grant through the government, and we want to thank Jefferson County. We want to thank Paulina, and we want to thank also Erica Roberts, because they were both instrumental in the midst of all of the work they have going on right now with COVID to still be able to work with the Denver Urban Area Security Initiative to make this happen for you guys. Okay. Another little piece of business. If you have questions, and I hope you do, please feel free to type them in the Q&A bar of your Zoom screen. And I see a bunch more people have jumped on. I hope everyone has selected the globe and the translation or the type of interpretation they wish to have, Spanish or English. Happy to have you join us. You can just type your questions in the question and answer, and the interpreters will help us with that at the end of the presentation, and or we will send you answers later, one or the other. So don't be shy about asking questions. So to start off, we want to make sure everybody understands that it is insurance money that's the #1 source of money that helps people to recover after they've had a disaster like fire, floods, theft, windstorm, hail, all of these things. Government assistance, FEMA money, only kicks in very large disasters when they're declared disasters by the government. And it can vary. And the most that any family group, any household gets, even after a major disaster like a big wildfire or a hurricane or a tornado, is $35,000. And first you must prove you need it. And while that can be wonderful, it is certainly not enough to rebuild lives. So if in the future, or if any of you are owners of property, it's very important to have homeowners insurance. Today, we are going to focus on rental insurance because that was the feedback that we had requested. Many people don't even realize there is such a thing, but there is, and that's what we're going to mostly cover today. And then there's charitable aid, which is wonderful and necessary, but really it does not cover the cost of replacing everything you need. It can be very useful in short-term immediate needs, things like some temporary food or shelter or clothing items. So insurance money is very important for people to get their lives back once they have a disaster hit. So in talking about rental insurance basics, again, many people think rental insurance is, they're not aware of it. But it's very important, and it's actually a great deal. It's usually not very expensive relative to other types. If you have rental insurance, let's say you're renting an apartment or a home somewhere, and it may be that your landlord would actually require you to have renter's insurance. And if so, many people just buy what's required. We want to help you be prepared so you can buy what best works for you also. So the renter's insurance policy It would have your name and address on it. You would pay for it. It's often can be less than $10 a month, and any covered claim payment would go to you. It covers the cost, excuse me, to clean or replace your belongings. What you would take with you if you moved would qualify as your belongings, up to the limit of that particular policy. So every policy has dollar limits that they will pay out. And what you pay for your premium cost to buy the policy is going to be dependent on how high of a dollar limit you need. Another thing that renter's insurance helps with, that's very helpful, is it has features that can help you cover temporary rent until you can re-enter or get a new place to live. So it will not pay for temporary rent for you if you don't still need to pay your old rent. But if you don't still need to pay your old rent and the new rent, because it's a hotel, because you couldn't yet find an apartment, is higher than your old rent, it would pay you the difference. And depending on the policy, you usually get around 2 weeks of temporary living costs, or it may be a fixed dollar amount. And I'll show you an example where it's around $3,000. But that can give you a chance to catch your breath and can be really important. The cost to clean or replace belongings, your belongings, can be so much higher than you imagine. So it's good to think about this. Now, while you have renter's insurance in perhaps an apartment, your landlord will likely also have an insurance policy on that apartment. But that insurance policy covers entirely different things than your rental policy would cover. So your landlord's policy would cover the cost to repair or rebuild the building itself. So things like maybe the carpet in the apartment, the fixtures in the apartment, the appliances in the apartment, if they belong to the landlord, the walls and the foundation of the apartment, the roof of the apartment, things like that. And it would also cover the cost to repair or replace those things that are attached that don't belong to you, but rather belong to the landlord. So the landlord's policy does not help cover your belongings at all. And many people are not aware of that. We want to make sure you understand the difference. So why would you want to buy and pay for renter's insurance when times are very difficult right now? Many people are unemployed or struggling. Many people maybe are paying more than they can afford for their place that they're living. We understand that it can be a challenge. And so we are not pushing anyone to do anything, but we want you to understand why many would choose to pay for renter's insurance and what it could do for you. One good reason would be that many landlords require their renters to have it. So there's a good reason right there that in order to rent that apartment, you would need to show that you had renter's insurance. Again, compared to many types of insurance, even your car insurance, it's rather inexpensive. And it's a way that you can make sure that if something horrible happens, like a fire in your apartment complex, or someone breaks in and steals all of your things, that you have cash to repair or replace your belongings. And it can help set you up so you can be able to be resilient, to respond to that bad event in a way that allows you to keep moving forward with the goals in your life. Um, it gives you that help and time to figure out maybe where you want to live next, or provides a safe, good place for you to live. The money to pay for a safe place to live while you wait for that, your home, your apartment home, or whatever it is, to be repaired. Um, and so those are some of the reasons that people choose to pay for renter's insurance. And here are some other ways it can help you that you may not have been aware of. For example, someone breaks into your home, as we said, steals your computer, steals maybe clothing, jewelry, things like that, that you need to go to school or go to work. This can help you rebound from that. We talked about living somewhere else. Your personal things are all going to be covered. And what happens if you're robbed, say, while you're traveling? Maybe you're traveling to go see family, although we're not doing a lot of that right now, and someone steals your suitcase, your luggage. Your personal belongings inside of that luggage, and the luggage may well be covered by your renter's insurance. Or if you have your things in your car and are transporting them from one place to another, the renter's insurance can cover the loss of those things. It would not cover damage to your automobile, because that would have to be covered under your automobile insurance. But it would cover, say, if someone broke the window to your car and stole your purse, your suitcase, or maybe your computer. Those things would likely be covered by renter's insurance. It also has liability insurance. And that means that if a guest gets injured in your home, if they trip and fall, if they get burned using the sink or shower, or cooking, if someone has in some way gets injured while they're in your home, and they want to sue you for that, the cost of their injuries, your rental insurance has a liability part of the policy that can help protect you from having to pay for that. There are limits on all of these things, but they're always better than nothing. So then the next thing is, what doesn't it pay for? I've told you the things that it should pay for. Here are the things that basic renter's insurance really won't pay for. They won't pay you if you or your family intentionally damage or destroy your home. If you have rowdy kids and they punch holes in the wall, basic renter's insurance does not cover that. If a vandal broke in and damaged the wall, then they may or may not, that may be on the landlord's insurance instead of your insurance. Earthquake is not typically covered, although we do have earthquakes in Colorado. And flood, standard flood, which is different than water falling out of the sky like rain. Flood insurance applies to rising water, maybe a river flooding, water that comes from outside of your property and rises up and causes damage to your home and belonging. That's a different kind of policy, and that would not be covered by your renter's insurance. However, you may be covered if it's falling versus rising water. So a couple of examples would be if there was a windstorm or a tornado and a tree crashed through a window in your apartment or in your prefabricated home or wherever you're living, and that broke the window and allowed rainwater or hail to come into your home, and that caused damage to your belongings, then likely it would be covered. But falling water, another example would be if, in order for the firemen to put out the fire, the water they spray causes damage to your property, then that could be covered by rental insurance. Why? Because storms and fire are covered reasons for damage. So they're called perils, and they're covered reasons that your policy would pay you. Okay. And remember, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and type them in the Q&A, and we will attempt to answer them at the end. So now, if you are interested in renter's insurance, how would you go about buying it? And how would you know how much you would want? Well, you can purchase insurance from an agent. You know, people have businesses. You'll see a State Farm agency or AAA insurance or any number of other insurance companies. There are also independent agencies that you might see around town. And of course, you can contact them directly. You can also go online and get quotes for insurance online. There are all the major companies that offer insurance in Colorado have online access. We suggest that you get quotes from a few good companies. And to make it easy, if you have already got automobile or car insurance, you could start with whoever provides your automobile insurance and talk to them about getting a rental policy. They're going to ask you a number of questions in order to be able to tell you how much your policy would cost. And the most important thing is that you express to whomever you're talking to what your goals are. That you might say something like, you know, I want to be sure that if I have a fire in my apartment, that I can replace my computer and my musical instruments and buy clothes for myself and my children. Then you would want to use that information to help you figure out how much insurance you are going to want to buy. So take notes and keep them. And you can also take pictures or videos of your belongings and store them in a safe place outside of your home. I'm going to talk about that more a little later. That will help you when it comes time that you might have a claim to prove what you lost. And it may help you look through the pictures to figure out and estimate how much insurance you want. Another good idea is to think about risks around where you live. Your highest risk might be theft, or it might be flooding if you live on the first floor in a low area near water. So these are the kind of things you want to consider. We do suggest you get 2 or 3 different insurance companies to give you quotes, and that you make sure you're comparing them equally. So all the policies are not always automatically the same. So We will help you with, there's a document that I'll show you in a little bit that we can send to you, a link that you can use to compare 3 different insurance companies. Also, I want to strongly encourage you to ask for discounts. One of my favorite sayings in life now is, we do not get what we don't ask for, or rarely do we get what we don't ask for. And there are many types of discounts now offered by different insurance companies. Sometimes, if you're willing to do everything online or without paper, there's a discount for that. If you have a membership, like maybe you belong to Costco or Sam's Club or some kind of work association or something along those lines, that can provide you a discount. If you have a family member that was in the military, you can get access to certain types of insurance at a discount. If you have something like a Ring doorbell or a home security system in the home, it may be that you're renting a room from a homeowner. And even then, it can be wise to get rental insurance for your belongings. And the home security system in the home that you're renting a room in, the distance to that fire station and that type of thing could help reduce the cost of your policy. As a rule, we recommend that you buy what you need and what you can recover. So it isn't necessarily helpful, even if you could afford to buy, say, $100,000 worth of personal property insurance, if you only own maybe $10,000, $25,000 worth of replacement value of that property, because the insurance will only pay you the amount that you can show you lost, and what it costs to replace that. Okay, so what matters? This is just kind of a review, but I'm going to go over it anyway and touch on a few other things. The deductible matters, and the deductible is the amount that you have to pay first after a loss before your insurance company would kick in and pay you up to their policy limits. And we have an example of that in detail that I'll show you in a little while. So that's the money that's going to come out of your pocket to fix or replace your belongings before the insurance company will pay you the rest. And then I talked quite a bit about temporary living expense. It's sometimes called additional living or loss of use. And I'll show you an example of that. And we want to make sure that you guys ask for replacement cost coverage versus like thrift store value. Because even if someone, maybe, you know, your parents or someone gave you the piece of furniture, the dining room table, and it really didn't cost you anything, you want to be able to have the resources to go out and buy a new dining room table that is similar to the one you lost. And the policy wouldn't pay you very much for it if it was just what they call actual value, because that would be depreciated due to the age and everything else. Whereas with replacement cost, if you had a wooden round dining room table that had 4 chairs, it would cover and pay you enough after your deductible to buy a round wooden dining room table with 4 chairs of equal function and value. And then we're going to talk about what if you do have special items that you want to make sure are covered. Again, there are a lot of things that aren't covered under the policy. Flood, water isn't covered, mold and pollutants aren't covered unless they come following something like the fire hose or a rainstorm or something like that. Terrorism and earthquake are not covered under standard rental policies. So this is a picture of that renter's insurance comparison shopping guide that we have on our website. And it just gives you the different little pockets of importance to ask about, and then space for 3 different types of insurance or different companies. So if you feel that would be useful, then we can provide you with that. This one is a picture. I don't know if you guys can see it very well. It's not very big. But this is what a typical policy page looks like. It will have your name in the green circle at the top and your address. And then it will have your insurance agency's name and address. And then it will have policy information and who the insurance company is. The insurance company may be different from the agent. The agent may just work selling different types of insurance and different carriers. So here's where your insurance company would be and how to contact them. And then the premium for the policy, which is the amount for the year. This particular policy is $151 for the year. And this would and could be broken down into monthly payments that would be automatically removed from your account, or you could arrange to pay them however you wish, usually. Then there's an area with discounts, and here the discounts are loss-free, which means this person has not filed a claim before on this insurance company. And that they're giving them a discount for that, and they're a good payer, which means they've paid on time. So they got a $45 discount from the regular policy price. So that's a good thing. And then this particular policy has a deductible at the bottom there of $500. So that's the all perils property coverage deductible is $500. That's what, if you had this policy and someone came and stole $4,000 worth of stuff, you would ultimately get paid $3,500 because the first $500 they would expect for you to cover. The next page is basic, just sort of like a blown up, easier to see version of basic coverage. And I wanted you guys to see this. So coverage C is for personal property, and that's $10,000. So this particular policy is just like the one we just saw. For loss of use, should you need temporary living, this one has a dollar limit of a little over $3,000. So let's say there was a fire in your rental unit, and your unit itself wasn't even damaged, but you had the government shut down the apartment complex until it could be cleaned up and everything, and you couldn't get in and live there. Then your policy would cover up to $3,000 to pay for rent until of an equal type place. So if you lived in a 1-bedroom, you could rent a 1-bedroom. If you were renting a 1-room, you could rent 1 room. If you lived in a 2-bedroom house, you could rent a 2-bedroom house, up until you reached that limit. Some have time limits instead. It's often 2 weeks. The good thing is the government usually doesn't condemn anything for more than 2 weeks. And if it can't be repaired in that time, then you would be relieved of your lease. So you would have the opportunity while you were living off of this money to find a new permanent place to live. Then again, this one is the $500 deductible. This is a different policy. This one is $10,000 in personal property, but the loss of use is 9,000. So that's a lot more. And that's a good idea with how expensive it is to stay in hotels or to have temporary living. Um, and then this one has only a $250 deductible. And the premium is about the same after the discount. So this is just $98 a year or $8 a month. And every penny helps, I know, but if you do have a major event, it's a wonderful thing to have good, solid insurance. Okay, let's move on. I've already really kind of explained how the deductible works, so I'm going to keep going. Actually, I want to come back and cover one thing. Um, if if you have a policy with a $500 deductible, and it turns out that the robber steals only $400 worth of stuff, you wouldn't get paid anything. So because the loss is less than the amount of your portion you have to pay first. So in this type of situation, you wouldn't even want to file a claim with your insurance company because you wouldn't get any money from it, and it might just make your costs go up. Okay, so we're going to talk a little more about how to figure out what your stuff is worth and how much insurance you might want to have. So personal belongings, stuff, things, contents are the things that belong to you and you take with you when you move from one place to another. So, and some things that you might want to consider mentioning to an agent if you have a lot of this or you have something you highly value that you would want to increase your insurance on. It might be things like a gun collection or maybe some special jewelry or some family heirlooms. Or if you run a business out of your home and you have a lot of computer equipment, or you maybe have supplies that you keep, or perhaps you have, I had someone I helped once who had a contracting business. He helped to repair homes, and he had all of his equipment, his business equipment, in his garage, and the garage burned. And he didn't know he needed a separate policy for that instead of his just regular rental coverage for the house he rented. And he did. So it's important to know that business coverage is limited. Jewelry, cash, silverware, all these things are limited. This slide shows some limitations that are common. Money, banknotes, coins are usually very limited in their coverage. Even if you have $25,000 in personal property contents insurance, it may only cover you for $200 in these things that are lost because they're so easily stolen and hard to prove. $1,000 on jewelry, $2,000 on firearms, $2,500 on business personal property. These vary company to company, so this will be on your list of questions when you talk to an agent. We've talked a little bit about this, but I want to emphasize this: documenting the details. Making a smartphone or a tablet video of your things and talking about your things as you walk around opening the drawers and closets, or taking lots of photos, or asking a family member or friend to walk through your home and help you do that if you don't have that type of phone or tablet, or the ability to take photos. And then you take that and store it in a safe place, like an email on email. You might do zip it on an email and send it to a trusted family member or to the cloud for storage, or a flash drive. You can download it to a flash drive and keep that outside of your home. Give it to a trusted family member or friend. Put it in a safety deposit box. And then if you have loss, you can easily gain access to that information, show it to your adjuster who's going to help you with your claim and prove your loss and get the money from the insurance company. So that's really important. Documenting is extremely important, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Don't be intimidated by that. Really, anything will do. If you have a stack of pictures in an envelope and they adequately show what you had, then that will work. If you are kind of a computer smarty person and you want to create a video, special video, or a spreadsheet of your things, you can do that also, but either one works. Okay, let's see where we are. Good, okay. So on the temporary housing, I want to touch on a few other things about that. In addition to paying for a place for you to live if you're required to evacuate your rental, or if your rental cannot be repaired and you need somewhere to live while you find somewhere new, but you still have to pay your rent through the end of the month, that type of thing. In addition to paying for that, it can also help pay for things like, oh, maybe if your computer burned and you need it right away to do your work or to attend school, then that pot of money could help you go buy that computer. It could pay for, you know, your immediate needs for you and your family before you even figure out what belongings you lost. If you have to go to the drugstore or Target or Walmart and buy pajamas and clothes and slippers and toothpaste and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, it adds up. So that temporary housing can also pay for some of those costs. So that in the different policies, that can be a dollar limit, like I showed you. It was around 3,000 in one policy and 9,000 in the other. Or it can be a time limit, which might be 2 weeks. In a rental policy. In a homeowner's policy, it's more likely a year or more. But it can be both. It could be $9,000 and or 2 weeks, whichever goes first. And the other important point about this is they say it's accrued or actual loss sustained. And what that means is you would literally have to go to that department store and spend the money and then you know, on your credit card or something, and then show it to your insurance company for them to pay you. Now, they may give you an advance. They may give you a check for some money to get you started if you don't have enough in the bank or in your credit limit to do that. Most good insurance companies will do that in good faith, but you will still have to show them those receipts to prove that you paid the rent or that you bought the computer or the prescription medication or the shoes. So keep that in mind. And then if you do meet with an agent or talk to them on the phone, hopefully we're not meeting in person right now, but talk to them on the phone, take notes, and if you can, send an email back to your agent to document what they told you, what you understood they told you. And that you can add to wherever you have your pictures and your video, so that if the agent told you, we're getting you enough insurance to cover replacing your things, and then you have a loss, you have proof that that was your intention, and that can help you. And probably one of the biggest messages that I've found is helpful to give to people is, whether it's when you're buying your insurance or it's if you need to use your insurance, speak up for yourself. You are the customer, you're the client, you're the reason they exist. And most agents, they take the premium money and they move on down the road and pass it on to the insurance company, which is great, but they get paid to do service for you. So don't be afraid to ask questions, all the questions you want, and try to get those answered. Either take the notes and send the email to them, or ask them to answer them in email. Find, maybe ask around and find agents that are going to be friendly in your community and will work with you. So that's sort of my little pearl. We are going to provide you all with a copy of the slides from this presentation. I realize that they're only offered in English, but hopefully they can still be a guide when you work with an insurance agent. And we have here a list of good questions to ask that will cover all of those things that we've talked about. And then the next thing I want to mention to you all is, if you do have a rental policy or you get a rental policy, you want to remember that every year to go over your situation and possibly update it. So perhaps, for example, if you move to a different location, you must let your insurance company know that, so they can properly update your policy and you remain covered. If someone who is not a family member moves in with you, so maybe you have rented an apartment that has an extra room, and you have a roommate who's renting that room from you or with you, then you want to make sure they have their own rental insurance, or they know that they're not covered by your rental insurance. If you work from home, if you are, maybe do care.com or Uber or something like that, there are special considerations with insurance policies. So you're going to want to talk to your insurance agent about that. If your life status changes and you get married, separated, or divorced, you want to tell your agent. And if you get a dog, make sure that the breed of the dog will not cause you to not have the liability coverage. So if the dog were to bite someone or something like that, your insurance would not kick in for you if it was a breed that that particular insurance company didn't allow. You just have to ask your agent. Some do limit breeds of dog, some do not. We also want to remind everyone that you have the ability right now, if you are a driver and you have an automobile, you should have automobile insurance. It's required by the state of Colorado. And everyone is generally driving less right now because of the COVID restrictions. So a lot of insurance companies are willing to pay back some of the cost of the premium, because there have been a lot fewer wrecks, and they maybe can return some of that money to you. So it doesn't hurt to ask. I actually got a premium rebate, it's called, back from my insurance company, because I'm just not driving much anymore. You may want to consider if you really need collision coverage. Um, Maybe the value of your car, if it's an older car, and if it may have already have some damage on it, if you were to get in an accident, your insurance might not pay you much for that car. They may consider the value of that car already too low, that it maybe you have a $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible on your car insurance, and they may say your car was already hail damaged, so it was only worth $1,000. Then you get nothing. So why pay for collision insurance if it isn't going to be worth it for you? It may take a few minutes to figure out, but you might want to consider that. And then that money could help go to getting you rental insurance, which could, in fact, be of value to you. But we encourage everyone to keep the coverage that is required by law. And we ask that you remember to think twice before you file a small claim, because it can raise your rates. But know that you have duties and responsibilities. So you don't want to not file a claim ever if someone has been hurt physically in an accident or in your home, in when there was a fire or event happened, a dog bite, something like that. It is required that you file a claim and let your insurance know about it. Okay. It's a legal contract. So laws and regulations determine how they work and how it's interpreted. And anytime you work with an insurance company, it's good to remember that your agent or your adjuster may be a nice person, but they have different goals than you do. So you must negotiate with them. And you don't have to take no for an answer if you don't think, based on your understanding of what your policy was supposed to do, what the words say, the answer should be no. And there are ways that you can kind of be a champion for yourself and keep asking, and so that you can get a fair and full payment for your claim. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Our organization has a lot of online resources. We have experts where if you type in a question, we can often get back to you with some help. And the state of Colorado has a division of insurance. And there are links here, which we will send you, that will be very helpful. You can file a complaint online. You can ask questions online. And these folks, they're not like your lawyer or your advocate, but they will help make sure the insurance company takes you seriously. I have two questions or comments here, and that I think I can address right now. So I'm going to go ahead and answer it. One person asked, what was the discount that I mentioned for not driving as much during these times? And the answer to that would be ask them if there is a COVID, so COVID, COVID driving rebate. Most insurance companies should know about this. The division of insurance that I was just showing you, they are awesome in that they have actually typed out a bulletin, which is a way they kind of encourage insurance companies to do the right thing. And that bulletin has said, we want you, insurance company ABC, to look at how much money was paid in for insurance policies on driving automobile for mileage based on the miles you expected to be driven. And we want you to rebate some of that money back because um, if you have made extra money because there weren't as many claims and accidents and dollars spent, then you owe that money back to the policyholder. So that's the kind of thing you can get assistance with. And the state is very good. Um, you might have to be a little patient, but they're very good. And they, I believe, have interpreters also. And then I just want to move on. We have 2 minutes left. And that would be what happens if you do have a claim? So let's pretend, let's hope not, but let's pretend that maybe you live in a home and you rent a room, and there is a fire in the kitchen of that home. And that smoke from that fire has gotten into your room and made it so you cannot live in your room, and it's damaged your things. Then that's just one example. Then what you want to do is make sure you have a copy, a certified copy of, that means that what the insurance originally sent you, the insurance company, or what's in effect right now in your insurance policy. And you want to make sure you have that with you. You might have to ask the insurance agent to give it to you in writing. You might have to download it from the internet. You might have to pull it out of your files. But that's where you can use that to help you get your benefits and know who to talk to and to know what your benefits are. Remember those sheets I showed you where the amount of coverage you had are. So the first thing you're going to look for is that loss of use benefit. And that would be for the temporary housing and to replace temporary things. And I strongly recommend that you get it and you use it. And then this is going to sound kind of repetitive, but sometimes we have to hear things 3 times before they really click. Get a notebook and that has a pocket in it, so you can stick all of your receipts for things you buy in that little pocket or that folder. And you can make a journal and write down every time you talk to someone about insurance, or just, when in doubt, write it out. Do a journal of your experience. We call that a claim diary. And that can really help you. It'll help you process your experience and loss from an emotional standpoint. It will help you advocate for yourself with your claim and remember the dates that things happened and what happened. And you can sign up on our website for tips of the month that will come into your email. And you can go on our website and look at all of our resources. And we will be sending all of you a follow-up email with some links and the slides so that you can review this information. It has been a pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight. I know it's a lot of information. I hope it sinks in and informs you in how you want to spend the money that you have for insurance and protect yourself. I hope all is well, and I just want to thank you again. Gracias. Let me know. You can also write me, Carrie at uphelp.org, if I can be of any help at all. And remember, it's www.uphelp.org. And I hope you guys had a great evening. Thank you again, Paulina. Good night. Oh, one more question. Nope, that's from Paulina. Thank you, Paulina. Have a great night.